Hey guys, welcome to another edition of the QuickSlant Podcast. I'm Trevor Rogers, your host, and this week it's just me and my buddy Gerald Tracy from the Land Grant Gauntlet and from SB Nation's Cowboys Ride For. Boy, I cannot believe that we are heading into week 5 of the college football season, Gerald.
Oh, it's been really quick, and I'm glad it's been quick and painless for Oklahoma State. I mean, 4-0 for the first time since 2011. I'll take it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think anytime that your team is undefeated going into conference play and you've established a conference win already, that you have to be happy with where you're at. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm sure there's a lot of teams out there like Oklahoma State that feel that they could be better.
No, yeah, I think Oklahoma State has definitely played lower than what they're capable of this year. But, that happens. In the end, if you're 12-0 or 10-2, whatever the record may be, they're not going to have pictures of this box score to each one, right next to the scoreboard. All it's going to say is, hey, you're in the top 10 of the country, but you don't care how you win.
You don't care how you get there, just as long as you get there.
Yeah, I mean, Florida State had a whole bunch of ugly wins last year, college football playoff. I'm not saying Oklahoma State's anywhere near that level, but I mean...
But results are results.
Yeah, exactly.
Now,
wins are wins.
Guys, tonight it should be a lot of fun. We're going to go ahead and talk about there's a bunch of big games across the Big 12 this weekend. The unfortunate thing is you've got a lot of games at 11 a.m., which the Big 12 has got to do something to fix this problem, because you've got Texas Tech and Baylor with points galore. That screams points. We saw what Texas Tech did against TCU last week. The over-under on that game is almost 90. Then you come to Norman, you've got a very fiery West Virginia squad. A lot of people think much improved, especially on the defensive side of the ball, with this new air raid, Baker Mayfield-led Oklahoma offense that really seems to be finding its stride. So that's an intriguing matchup. And then you've got Oklahoma State, who travels to the game's in Stillwater. You get Kansas State that travels to Stillwater to play Oklahoma State this weekend, and we still don't know what Oklahoma State's kind of about. They took care of business against Texas, and I guess that's where we'll begin tonight. Gerald, what happened? Give us your take of what happened in Austin last weekend.
Just crazy. I mean, it was a zoo, and the monkeys were taking over, throwing feces everywhere. But, it was the first quarter. All Oklahoma State fans were happy. We're all 6 beers in because we don't know how long this offense is going to last. 14-6 lead after one. Wasn't the biggest lead in the world, but in the 2 possessions that the Cowboys had, they scored and looked very efficient doing so. And then the second quarter started. Obviously, a lot of people know the tail of the tape from there. Mason Rudolph fumbles the ball on what was a play-action pass from under center, something that we normally don't see from Oklahoma State. I don't know what happened. Maybe it was the hot Texas heat. Maybe it was just nerves. But he fumbled the ball, and then what my sources telling me, and what many of other people, even Mike Gundy even came out and said it on Monday, was Rudolph hurt his hand on that play, trying to tackle the guy who picked it up. And as a quarterback, obviously, you're touching the ball all the time. You get a stinger, is what I was told from my source. How bad stingers can be, especially whenever Mason Rudolph doesn't have the biggest of hands. He's no basketball player, I guess what you can say. He's not a guy who has just oversized hands. Adrian Peterson, he has smaller hands. So whenever you have that stinger, you notice that right after that play, whenever he did throw the ball, they were higher than normal, a little behind, a little ahead, coming out almost like a duck. And normally we're used to seeing Mason get those really tight spirals. Very uncharacteristic of him. And so Coach Gundy came out Monday in his weekly presser saying, hey, I thought I'd put it on my defense to win the game, basically defending his choice of, kind of going conservative. I believe what it was he realized that with Mason hurt and J.W. Walsh is the best option next, he said, we're not going to score many points tonight. Let's just have our defense do it for us.
Sure.
And the defense did. The defense did its job, only allowing 13 points to a Texas team who scored 44 at Cal in the week before, given a much worse Cal team, but still only allowing 13 points on the defensive side. Offense could have been a lot better, but they were obviously trying to stay conservative, trying to make sure Mason's hand wasn't hurt more than it was, and trying to keep J.W. Walsh from throwing it, because we've seen how bad that can be. Because when J.W. Walsh, he's decent, but once it gets past that 16, 17-yard line, 16, 17-yard mark, his throws become very inaccurate.
Now, Gerald, obviously we've seen Texas has been improved, at least in the last couple of weeks. You've got Jay Norvell calling the plays. Gerard Hurd really does look like he's a playmaker. He's a young guy that has definitely given some spark, given the Texas fan base some enthusiasm. That being said, this is a game that a lot of people circled early for Oklahoma State and said, no matter what, obviously Texas is down, but you'd like to see Oklahoma State make a statement. Gerald, I guess what I'm trying to get to is we've yet to see Oklahoma State truly be sharp this year. What's the cause for concern in Stillwater, what's the level of concern in Stillwater, and at what point do you think we'll see Oklahoma State finally put it all together, or will they put it all together?
I think they'll get a little better. It's not going to be completely together. This team, people were touting him as dark horse. I did it myself. I'm not sure that they're at that level yet. Next year, possibly. The offensive line, that middle, it's much improved from last year, but the outside tackles, not the inside guards, that Paul Lewis specifically has been horrid on all kind of rush running protection. So I think that's the biggest concern. We've seen the pass game thrive. Mason Rudolph has 1,200 yards passing already in 4 games. I believe he's in the top 14 or top 12 in the nation. He's not making the headlines that Baker Mayfield is, but he's still getting it done. He has a lot of yards. The pass game we know can happen. It's the rush game. We have 3 pretty good backs, and Jeff Carr, who hasn't seen much time, Rennie Childs, who is complete turnaround from last year. He was not very good. This year we've seen a different guy out there. I'm starting to wonder if they brought a different guy in. And then Chris Carson, who he's more of a pounded guy. He'll run through defensive players, but he can only run through so many. When you've got 5 guys just blowing up Paul Lewis, Chris Carson's not going to go very far. I think the level of worry, really, for Oklahoma State fans should be about a 4.5 right now out of 10. They're going to win. The defense is going to be able to stop split teams. And the passing offense, frankly, the only passing defense in the Big 12 that really scares me is WVU right now. OU's shown to give up a lot of points. Baylor's shown to have trouble against some decent passing teams. TCU couldn't stop Texas Tech. Texas Tech can't stop anybody. So I think OSU will be able to win its fair share, and they'll lose some games. They'll probably lose 1 or 2 of those last 3 games against Baylor, TCU, and OU. But I think they're going to be in it. And I think that 4.5 level is fair enough to say, because if you don't get a rushing game in there, it's going to have to be very one-sided. And Gundy's come out and said that he really wants to establish that running game.
You have West Virginia coming up here in a couple weeks, and then Texas Tech. But obviously November is really that gauntlet for all 4 of those teams that are definitely in that top tier in the Big 12, being Oklahoma State, TCU, Baylor, and Oklahoma. So it should be a lot of fun. I'm with you. I really like the way Rennie Childs has really developed. One thing I noticed on Saturday is if there's something that definitely he's improved on, I think it's been waiting for his read and looking for that hole. He's definitely been a lot more aggressive getting to that hole once he knows where he's going. So I think that only bodes well for Oklahoma State. I'll be interested to see where they stand after that Texas Tech and after they travel to Morgantown, because that game is shaping up to be bigger and bigger every week. Pokes, yeah, should be fun. Should be fun with the Pokes, definitely. What did you think of Texas Tech last week against TCU?
I don't know if that game's as close if TCU has full strength. And then also I saw Pat Mahomes. I didn't get to watch a lot of it. I got to watch the last, because the OSU game was going on at the same time. I believe they started an hour after OSU. So I was flipping in between. Okay, if it's not, I'm going to have to go Baylor.
Should be a lot of fun. I can't believe the over-under on that game is right at about 90 points. That's a record. That's like the highest over-under in the history of college football.
It was 80.5 for the TCU Texas Tech game, and I think they got to 100. It was 52-48, I believe.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. Yeah. That is unbelievable. This league, people who say the Big 12 is not exciting don't get it. They just don't get it.
No.
I my own picks last weekend. Tennessee really hosed me last weekend with my picks. They hosed everyone. Everybody, from what I understand, picked Tennessee in that game. But it's not easy, even when it's a down year for Florida, it's not easy to ever go into the swamp and get a win.
No, it's not.
But, especially when that.
Next, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Especially when Florida has won now 11 in a row against Tennessee.
Yeah, well, the thing is, Tennessee plays Arkansas next week, which could go either way. Honestly, the way we've seen both teams play. Arkansas played really bad, but Tennessee also, that last-second loser to Florida. And I don't know if Arkansas loses another one in the game. Then they have to go Georgia, and then they go to Bama. That's maybe a 1-2 trip, 1-2 3-week series.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So, like I said, they might be a 4 or 5 loss team by the end of the year. But I do think they are the most talented, and they're really catching, teams at the wrong time. Georgia, whenever they got a really good running game. Alabama, who that running back is just a tank. Florida, like you said, hard to go into the swamp and win.
To me, that you look at those games of what Tennessee should have won. Some people had them as a dark horse in that SEC East. I wasn't one of those people. I think that they're young. I think that they're talented. But I'm with you. I think that schedule eventually things add up. Now, if Tennessee does blow it to Arkansas this weekend, as an OU fan, I would be absolutely concerned about where Tennessee stands. I think that's 100% a winnable game. I still think they should have won it at Florida. But I do think, when it comes down to playing the Kentuckys of the world, when they play South Carolina, Vanderbilt, I think you're going to see this Tennessee team get some wins. They're going to find their rhythm late in the season like they did. And don't be surprised if they finally do get that signature win this year. I got to think it's coming. I'm still a believer in the Volunteers, but who knows? So let's move on. We've talked. We're a Big 12 podcast. Let's get away from the SEC.
Let's. That's the worst one to talk about.
Oklahoma.
Let's talk about the West Virginia Oklahoma game.
That is. Whew, I don't know, man. I don't know what to think of this game. I really want to. I look at this and I say, West Virginia, you haven't done anything wrong. You've got the resume, you're putting up some points, you're not giving up anything on defense, but you've played little sisters of the poor state 1, 2, and 3, and sorry, Maryland, you've fallen down to that category.
Well, whenever you let Dax Darman play willingly and not because of injuries, I think you've fallen down to that category. So, I'm impressed with West Virginia, but I'm not impressed. It's like whenever you got a kid who comes in and goes, I was valedictorian at my school. Oh, really? How many people were in your class? 3.
Right.
It's like, congratulations, you beat out 2 other guys. I think they're going to be good. I have them losing this one. I think Baker Mayfield pulls some kind of hat trick out in the second half. I think he's going to have a bad first half trying to figure out this West Virginia defense. But I think Skylar Howard, and really his biggest game of his career so far, he's going to have a little bit of issues with that Oklahoma defense, even though they haven't shown to be good so far. There's, like I've said before, there's 3 or 4 guys that could be drafted in May on that defense.
And that's what everybody is giving, and don't get me wrong, rightfully so, about what everybody is really hard on Oklahoma defensively. But you look at the defenses that Oklahoma, and not even just Oklahoma, but when I was going back to Michigan State, who is the best defense in the country last year, gave up 500 yards to the system that Baylor runs. OU gave up a lot to Tulsa. I'm not saying that West Virginia is Tulsa, but what I am saying is West Virginia is very balanced. And I think that actually plays into Oklahoma's defensive scheme a little better. I think West Virginia is going to run the ball. They want to run the ball. They want to establish the run. They use a lot of zone read, a lot of read option, and then they'll try to get into that passing game. Their outside passing game isn't nearly what it was last year. I mean, last year they had 2 guys, that are now playing on Sundays. And then not to mention, a veteran quarterback. Couple that with I guess what I'm trying to say is Oklahoma's outside those weak positions, the corner, stopping those outside deep routes. What we saw Tulsa be able to do against Oklahoma. Yeah, I think West Virginia is a better talented team, but I think under what Montgomery did at Tulsa, I think they're under that system. That's why you saw Tulsa have that kind of success, because I think Tulsa has the weapons outside, and I don't think West Virginia has those weapons outside. So that's why I guess I'm saying, I'm with you, Gerald. West Virginia really has to prove it.
No, they do. And if they come in and win, that's going to be great. Especially for Skylar Howard's resume. I mean, you look at last year when he played his 3 games he started, the 2 big ones, Kansas State and Texas A&M in the Autos and Liberty Bowl, loses them. And then Iowa State was his only win last year. This year, we all know who they played, which is nobody. So this would be a signature win for Skylar Howard. It really would.
No, absolutely.
And I think it's possible, but I'm taking OU in this one at home. Young West Virginia team and all, and really. I don't think it's going to be a 45-30. What's the over/under in this one? Because I'm probably taking the under.
Well, so the over/under is actually not very high. The over/under is pegged right at 45, which to me, I could see both these teams scoring in the 30s.
Maybe. It depends on which Oklahoma and which West Virginia defense comes out. The over/under is pegged at 59.5. It really depends. I'm taking the under on that one for sure. I think it's going to be a 30-21, something around there. I'm thinking OU, like I said. I think we finally maybe get to see P. Ryan and Mixon run the ball more than they have in past games. They're going to pick on Sanchez, and if I know Zach, he's not going to take it kindly. He's been picked on for the past 3 or 4.
Down with the amount of moonshine that's in that area. Couches, watch out! Watch out!
If they do lose all 3 of the games before Oklahoma State, I'm not picking Oklahoma State in that one. I'm not picking a pissed off Dana Holgorsen against his former team in his house. I'm not. It's just not happening. I'm already on the fence about that game as it is. So it's going to be a nightmare, I think. So
now, before we get out of here, let's do this real quick. I've been wanting to do this for a long time, and I think Dana Holgorsen is a great place to start. If you could cast the Big 12 coaches as Game of Thrones characters, who would they be and why? Gerald, start. Give me a coach as a Game of Thrones character.
All right, Art Briles, Stannis Baratheon.
I like it.
He does anything to win. He does anything to win, even if that means killing his daughter that he's hid from everybody, and doing some kind of new religious thing that people around him don't exactly take care for, but they're not going to say anything about it because they're going to find a way to win. He thinks he's the rightful king to the land, and he may be, but he's probably not. So, and he's probably going to get killed by a little girl by the end of the year. So we'll see. Iowa State calling you up.
I will go. I'll go Bob Stoops, Robert Baratheon. I think he's for the most part a pretty likable guy, but he's just definitely made some blunders over the years. That's kind of led to his demise a little bit. What about you?
Okay, Cliff Kingsbury, Joffrey.
I think that's fair. I think that's ultimately fair. Just seems to whine a lot.
Seems to whine a lot. Thinks he's won something when in all reality he won 7 games at the beginning of the year one time, and then I think they ended up 7-5. So yeah, we'll go with that. Where do you put Mike Gundy at? I think this is a harder one. I was thinking about it. I couldn't really pinpoint one at first.
Oh, I want to say Mike Gundy. Oh, that's a really tough one, man.
It is kind of a tough one.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of want to go Rob Stark, but he just died after like 3 episodes. So
yeah,
I'm not sure.
Rob Stark would probably be a good one. He had his run, had his victories, and
I know you fans are going to hate this, but I mean, I could go Jon Snow. A lot of people were really happy for him, brought something out of nothing, and then, at the end, something just kind of happened, and we're not sure if he's dead or not. But
actually, you know what? I have one for Bob Stoops, and I think a lot of people might agree with me on this. I will go. I'm going to change Gary Patterson as Robert Baratheon, and I will go Bob Stoops as Tywin Lannister.
Oh.
He's had his reign over the Big 12. He's run roughshod. He's got the money. He's got the support. It's all about tradition, family, and honor. And then
they don't win anymore. No, I'm just kidding.
You've got Tyrion Lannister up in Stillwater, who shot him with a crossbow last season by having Stoops punt twice.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
I think that's good. I think we'll end it there. I think this is something we should revisit. Go ahead.
Daenerys. Could it be Daenerys? Could be Dana Holgerson.
Daenerys, Dana. I'm all about it.
I mean, people think that he's gonna
fire-breathing dragons and Red Bull.
Yeah, and everybody thinks he's gonna come over and win sooner or later, but we just don't know for sure when. And then all of a sudden he's lost between a whole bunch of guys and nobody knows what the hell's going on.
If somebody could Photoshop a blonde wig onto Dana Holgerson and put him on top of a dragon, I quit. You got couch burning, you got Red Bull. That's somebody out there, one of our watchers, one of our followers, please make that happen.
You do it, we'll find a way to pay you.
We'll find a way. We got to revisit this at some point. We'll think about this next time before we actually do this, and we'll finish our list. But, Gerald, thanks so much for coming on, man.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thank you, guys. For Gerald Tracy, I'm Trevor Rogers. This has been another edition of the QuickSlant Podcast. We will see you guys next week. Thank you.